So, good morning, everyone. Sorry for not being here yesterday. JPS decided that, well, they had other plans for us, but they won't stop us today. So, I'm Shereka Simmonds, your tutor for Paper 1 Economics. There's not much to know about me. I'm an economics major, as I said in the WhatsApp group at the University of the West Indies. Final year student. We don't have much time, so let's get right into our session. First, I'm going to share some tips about multiple choice. Sorry about that, guys. I'm babysitting, so yeah. So some tips about multiple choice. First of all, I shared this with some other students before. You can't go into multiple choice not knowing anything. You have to know something. As I was saying, you have to know something, guys. You can't expect to use common sense for everything. It might help sometimes, but when you have some knowledge as to what you're doing, it's much better. Always try to use your elimination method when approaching multiple choice questions. Some answers, you can just look at them and tell definitely these aren't correct. There's no way that could be the answer. So to help with time, always try to eliminate those and try to find the correct answer. Next, don't waste your time on one question. If you realize, oh, this question is probably hard, I don't understand how to approach it, read the question probably 2 or 3 times, and if you still don't have an idea how to approach the question, move on. Persons usually make the mistake of spending 15 minutes on one question, and then they have to rush and do the others. Don't do that. Try your best, work with what you know, and then go back and work on what you don't know. So if you have any questions before I begin sharing my screen, please go ahead. And I would like for this to be an interactive session. It's a small number of us, so I don't expect anybody to be too shy to share their opinions. And as I said, ask a question before I begin, if you have any. If not, you can just indicate in the chat and I'll start. All right, so no response. I'm guessing everybody's okay. All right, so we're going to look at 2015 first. And for multiple choice, well, CSEC multiple choice, CAPE multiple choice, it's always about repetition. The questions always repeat, even if it's about 5 of them, some questions are going to repeat. So what I usually suggest is practice as much past papers as you can, because sometimes you probably only get like 5 questions that you don't see on past papers. So to begin, this question says, which of the following reward occurs to the factor of production called capital? So we know there are different factors of production: capital, labor, land, entrepreneurial talent, all of that. And they want to know which one of these is the payment for capital. And we know that's interest rate. So that's D. Rent would be for land or anything that's like a physical housing. Profit would be what you get from the business. Wage would be what's paid towards labor. So an economy is best described as a system where resources are used to produce goods and services to meet the needs and wants of society. So we know that economy is basically our surrounding. Anything that the government or businesses have to do in order to meet the needs and wants of us, the citizens of the economy or of the country or society. So 2 would be D. Which of the following pairs of activity in a country falls under tertiary sector? So we know you have primary, secondary, and tertiary. So primary has to do with raw materials. Secondary has to do with the formulation of raw materials into final products, and tertiary usually has to do with distribution. So based on these options, we're looking at things that are into distribution, and that would most likely be banking and tourism, because for B, agriculture is most likely primary. Construction would be considered.
Sorry to cut the Shereka. Someone's asking to zoom in a bit, if you can.
Zoom in. I'm going to stop sharing and share. Sorry about that, guys.
I think you could have stayed on the same screen, but see if it could have been maximized there.
Yeah.
Not sure.
All right. Seeing better now, guys?
Yeah, man, I think it should be better now.
All right. So we were discussing question 3. So banking is definitely tertiary. Construction, though, would probably fall under secondary, because we're converting something from its raw material state to something of final production, which can be a building, a bridge, something. Manufacturing, no, that's definitely not tertiary. Fishing, definitely not tertiary. So the only answer we have there is banking and tourism. So a student with a daily allowance of $20 with which he can purchase chicken and chips or a burger, but not both. If he purchases chicken and chips, the opportunity cost of his decision will be, so first we need to ask ourselves, what is opportunity cost? Most persons usually describe it as the next best option. What do I have to give up in order to gain something else? So we have $20. That is not money, no, but yeah, $20. And they want us to define what is our opportunity cost if we buy chicken and chips over burger. So our next best option would be the burger. So therefore, the answer is burger that he gave up, because it's either chicken and chips or burger. We chose chicken and chips, so the next best option would be the burger. Number 5, for economics, persons tend to say, oh, it's really math-based. It is math-based, but it's more of graphing and explaining. So probably Joshua spoke about this on Friday. Knowing your graphs is very important for economics. Sometimes you might not know how to answer a question, but you probably have a way of graphically representing what they're asking you, and that's totally fine. Always try to understand and know your graphs because they always help. So question 5, the firm's total variable cost at 100 units of output is, so we're going to look at where the 100 line touches the total cost curve or the total variable cost curve. So we know that variable cost is a combination of what? It's basically how much cost is incurred by producing an additional good. Total cost is cost of producing the entire amount. And we know that fixed cost is associated with when we just the cost that we face without producing a particular goods or service. So if we're producing 100 units and we want to know the total variable cost, we're going to look at the total variable cost line and match it to our y-axis, and that is where it cuts at 15. So we know that our total variable cost here is 15,000. As I said, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. No question is too simple. Number 6, the economic system of most Caribbean countries is described as. So first we need to ask ourselves, what is a mixed economy? What is a planned economy? What is a traditional and what is a free market? So mixed is a combination of both planned and free market. Planned refers to when the government is totally in control of all the runnings of the country. Traditional is basically like an agricultural system, and free market is where the businesses are in charge of the running of the country. So in the Caribbean, we notice that yes, government makes policies and implements certain rules and so on in order to govern how our markets operate, but also we have a little aspect of the free market where the market actually determines its prices of goods and services. So our answer here would be mixed because we have a little planned, we have a little traditional, we have a little free market because we're still agricultural based. So our answer is A, mixed. So number 7. Item 7 refers to the following diagram, which illustrates the production possibility frontier of an economy that is capable of producing bauxite and sugar in different combinations. So we know that our PPF always has 2 goods. It doesn't talk about price or anything like that. So they want us to indicate what does point X on the graph represent. So on a PPF, you have 3 states that an economy can operate in. It can operate in an inefficient manner where you're operating below efficiency, which is below your curve, and that would be a point P. If the economy is efficient, the dot must fall somewhere on the line. It can be anywhere. And P also would represent some sort of idle unemployment. So it might be that you have a lot of persons who are unemployed, you have skilled persons who are not putting their talents to use and stuff like that. X now would be somewhere where we just can't obtain that. There's no way with the resources that we have, we are able to reach X unless our PPF shifts outwards and it falls on X, but otherwise we cannot afford X. We don't have what to afford X. So point X on the graph is D, an unattainable combination. So the burden of an excise duty falls entirely on consumers if, so we know that there is burden if tax, subsidies, all of that is exercised. Two things we need to note: the taxes are exercised, whatever duty the government imposes on the economy. It affects two persons or two groups within the economy. Those are the consumers and the producers. We are the consumers. The persons who produce the goods are considered the producers. And the government usually earns if it's something that they should earn from. So I think I should show this graphically. That would be better. Sorry for the pause, guys. Give me a minute. So while it's loading, guys, can somebody please tell me what does a perfectly elastic curve looks like? You don't have to open your mic, as I said. You can just type it in the chat. Perfectly elastic. Is it horizontal, vertical, diagonal, coming from the origin? Which one? Horizontal lines show that an infinite quantity will be demanded or supplied at a specific price. Yes, so that's perfectly elastic. So a small change in price would cause a great change in demand. And what would perfectly inelastic look like? Demand curve for a perfectly inelastic good is depicted as a vertical line. That's correct, Abigail. Rowan, persons are saying they're unable to open their mic. So can you just give them access, please?
All right. Guys, can you check it now if it's possible? I didn't even realize.
Yes, I can.
Yes,
now.
sir.
Okay, great.
All right, so we're going to look back at the question. The question asks us, what an exercise duty if the burden of the duty will fall entirely on the consumer if. So first we need to graph what an exercise. Sorry for the crappy drawing, guys. So we have our demand, our supply, and we're trying to decipher how will the consumer bear the entire burden. So we know that here, above our equilibrium price level, would be our consumer surplus. And below would be our producer surplus. So how does your your demand curve move in order to increase the consumer surplus? I'm going to ask the question again. In which direction is it going to be elastic or inelastic in order for your consumer to bear the burden? All right, no answers. So guys, if we have a perfectly horizontal line, that means your producers would have to bear the entire burden. If you have a line that's vertical, your consumers would have to bear the entire burden. So that is what the question is basically asking. How will your demand curve stay in order for your consumers to bear the entire burden of the duty being imposed on the economy? So it can't be the supply curve because we're looking at consumers. Producers would most likely be affected by our supply curve. Everybody see why we don't look at the supply curve?
Yes,
all right. So it has to be our demand curve. So it's either perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic. And we just saw that if it's perfectly elastic, that means consumer don't really, they aren't really affected. But if it's inelastic, they will be affected. So our answer for 8 would be C. Demand curve is perfectly inelastic. So the outward shift of a PPF can be caused by increase in wages, increase in prices, increase in imports, improvement in technology. So as I said before, your PPF has nothing to do with the price of goods and services. Yes, it can be used to depict change in prices, but it's not really common. The only way your PPF can shift is if you have an increase in resources, technology, or productivity. So again, increase in resources. So for example, we're producing banana and sugarcane. If we'll end up with some more tractors and stuff like that, that's a form of technology. We become more productive, hence we are able to produce more sugarcane and more bananas. So our answer for 9 is D, improvement in technology.
Miss?
Go ahead.
Miss, can you scroll up so I can see all the questions at once? Because I'm screenshotting it and answering as I go.
All right, let me zoom out and you screenshot and then we zoom back in. Most persons are unable to see when I zoom. All right, go ahead and screenshot.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any questions so far, guys?
No, miss.
Great. So item 10 refers to the following table, which shows a country's gross domestic product for a 5-year period. So in 2009, it was 372, 2010, 455, 2011, 496, and so on. So during the period 2009 to 2013, the GDP of the country what? Increased, decreased.
Increased.
So we are seeing where it constantly increased. So first it was 3 something, then 455. So yes, your answer is correct. D is increase. An advantage of a planned economy system is that there is usually more equitable distribution of wealth. Firms have a greater incentive to be efficient. Workers are more motivated and diligent. Consumers have a wider variety of goods.
Miss, would it be B?
D,
No, B.
B, yes. It would be B. So
All right, we might have a slight issue. I'm not so sure if you're just reconnecting. Hopefully it is. But we'll just take a 5-minute break. Well, not even a 5-minute break, just a 1-minute break just to, oh, okay, I think you did right.
Okay, sorry.
Miss, if you're talking, you're muted.
oh, sorry about that, guys. So I was asking what was the last thing you guys heard, if it was the answer for question 11.
Yes, Miss.
All right, so 12 economic choices are made about A, people's needs exceeding their wants. B, resources are unlimited and people wants are limited. Resources are scarce while people's wants are unlimited. People may not always have the money to conduct business. So the answer is C. Resources are scarce while people's wants are unlimited. And that is basically the same definition that they usually give you guys for scarcity. So 13, in an attempt to increase the efficiency of staff, management assigns specific tasks to each workers. This is an example of progress.
Specialization.
Correct. Progress, no. Productivity, no. Entrepreneurial ability, maybe, but still no. So here you can probably just use the elimination method, or some people might say common sense, and say the answer is specialization. So in a commercial bank, wages and salaries are not paid to which of the following persons?
The investment managers of the bank.
Why you say investment managers?
But because the shareholders would have to get a sum of money. The tellers and the supervisors would have to be paid. And the maintenance workers, like the janitors, would have to be paid as well.
So you are correct. Investment managers of the bank don't usually get paid by the bank. So shareholders earn what is called dividend, and the others earn salary.
from the bank.
So an example of a good is extra lesson from school, a loan approval by a bank, bottle of soda
C.
water. Why C and not D?
Because the reason why C and not D, because D is a service. Because when you go to the makeup, the makeup person, yeah, they're doing a service for you, but you're not getting the actual thing in your hands, like when you get the bottle of soda water.
All right, but isn't a loan a physical thing? Why not B then? Since we can't touch the service.
It's an approval.
Approval, but that's why you get the actual money in your hand. Probably them would have signed it, say it'll say you're eligible or qualified people, but can I get it now? And
Yeah, so that's correct, guys. Key things to note is how questions are worded. How questions are worded. So we definitely know that the beauty makeover at the spa is a service. But persons might look at B and say, oh, a loan by the bank. That's a physical thing. But the key word to know is they say a loan approval. A loan approval, not a loan. So our answer is definitely C, a bottle of soda water. 16, prices of goods in the market economy fluctuate while prices of goods in the planned economy tend to be fixed. The most likely reason for this difference is that the market economy profits are lower, producers are never efficient, buyers and sellers determine prices. There are higher unemployment levels.
would it be C as well?
C again. Why C?
Because it depends on like us, the consumer. If we buy it as much, it would sell faster, so the price would probably decrease. And miss, I don't know how to explain it, but if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it has to do with demand and supply. So remember, in a free market economy, prices are determined by what consumers want and what producers can afford to produce. So hence why it's buyers and sellers determine prices. Whereas in the planned, if government says that we're selling a bola for 100, consumers have to buy it for 100, producers have to sell it for 100. So C is definitely the answer. 17, some calculation. So a firm produces 29 pairs of high quality leather shoes at a fixed cost of 20,000 and a variable cost of 9,000. In producing the 30th pair, the new total cost rises to 30,000. What is the marginal cost of the 30th pair? So question before we answer, what is marginal cost? Anybody?
Would it be the cost that when you add up, you divide after?
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
Would it be when you add the
Baba.
Miss, someone typed it in the chat.
Oh, let me see what's in the chat. So the change in total cost divided by the change in energy output. It's the change in total cost, yes, but we're not dividing by anything right now. I think you're referring to average cost when you say divide. So marginal cost, guys, is just the cost incurred for producing one additional goods. So if I'm producing 29 shoes for 29,000 and I produce one more shoes and the total cost moves to 30,000, I now need to find the difference between those two total costs in order to find out how much did it cost me to produce one more extra pair of shoes. And that would be
Miss
1,000.
NWA.
Yes. So I'm going to go over that again. It's the amount or cost that is incurred for producing one additional good. So if we're producing 29 pair of shoes at 29,000, and now we're producing 30 at 30,000, the cost for producing that one extra pair of shoes is the difference between the 30 and the 29, which is 1,000. So one of the problems as, go ahead.
No, Miss, I was saying okay.
Oh, good. One of the problems associated with barter is that, what is barter?
The exchange of a good for another good.
Mhm. So what is the problem associated with barter?
Miss, would it be D?
D?
Yeah.
Correct. Why D?
Because it depends on how much, as like say a specific person or country would want in exchange for another good. So
All right. So with barter, it's usually, as somebody said, a good being exchanged for a particular good. So I have a necklace. I probably say, oh, my necklace worth $1,000. You have a ring. We want to trade. You probably say, oh, my ring costs $5,000. And I'm like, no, there's no way your little ring can cost $5,000 and my necklace costs that. So there, you want more for your object, but at the time there wasn't any currency or anything like that. So a person might want the product, so you might want my necklace, but at the same time, you don't think your ring is valued that little. So there's always this fight between the value of your good versus the value of the goods that you're trading for. So that's why it requires double coincidence of wants. So for persons who don't understand what double coincidence of wants is, it's basically when there's conflicting guys. Yes, guys. So as I said before, it's usually just basically a person valuing their good, and the values for both persons don't usually match. What you might think your object or good worth, I don't think it's worth that. So that's the problem associated with barter. 19, which of the following is not an example of a factor of production in a commercial bank? So what are factors of production?
land, labor, entrepreneur, and in profit or interest, I should think.
So the profit or the interest would be a reward, but from a reward for what? Capital.
Yeah.
So we say land, so the building can represent our land. Entrepreneurial talent might be our shareholders. Special savings account for students, what would that be?
That would be the and I say the interest from the profit, something like that.
I don't
Would
think
it
I
be
get what you mean.
all right? Would it be, say you have land, labor, entrepreneur, and is it interest? And that would be the interest.
You're asking if special savings account for students, if it would be interest?
Yeah. Or
Not necessarily. Remember, now we're trying to see what are the factors of production, and we're saying the factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurial talent. So we said that the building could be our land, our shareholders could be our labor, and we're trying to decipher under which category would we put special savings account for students and the
that would
bank
be
board.
capital.
The special savings account, yes, that would be a capital. And why did you choose capital?
Because that's what the interest is coming from.
Yes, so that's where they earn their profits. So B would be our answer, the bank vault. The bank will not really have nothing to do with production. It has nothing to do with how our banks operate. So 19 is B. A government reduces tax on carrots. This causes the price to fall by 50%. Quantity demanded then rises by 50%. The price elasticity of demand for carrot in this case is what? So first question, what is price elasticity of demand? Anybody? All right, so price elasticity has to do with change in price in relation to a change in quantity. So how is demand affected when price changes? That's basically it. And we're making the assumption that price falls by 50%, quantity rises by 50%. So we know that there's an inverse relationship between demand and prices, right?
Yes, miss.
All right. So if we know that the formula for price elasticity of demand is change in price over change in quantity. Change in price is by 50%, change in quantity is by the same amount. So if we divide those two values, we'll get 1. 50 divided by 50, 1. Everybody see how we get that, or you're still unclear?
Yes, miss.
All right. Question before we move on. If the question gave you something like carrot fell by 50%, but the demand rose by say about 20%, how would you approach that question?
You would divide the 50 by the 20, and you will get 2.5.
Correct. So when they give you in percentage, you don't usually have to do any extra work, because percentage already shows change. So an open competition on a worldwide scale facilitates which of the following: high level of dependency on tourism, increased trade union negotiating power, government manipulation of market outcomes, or the development of comparative advantage. Say that again?
D.
Correct. And we know what comparative advantage is, right?
Yes, miss. It is the what one country gives up
Mhm.
in order to produce another product, but it wouldn't really, because that's the product that they're more efficient in.
Yes. It's usually, as she says, when a country produces a goods or service that it's more efficient in producing. So 22, money is long-lasting, easy to carry around, and can be changed into smaller denomination. Which of the following characteristics of money are being described? Which of the following?
Would it be durability,
Can you
portability,
repeat the answer for 21?
visibility? That would be C.
Durability, portability, and divisibility, correct. And the person before you were saying, repeat the answer for 21.
Yes, miss.
The answer is D, the development of comparative advantage. And we say that comparative advantage is when a country produces a goods or service that it's efficient at producing. 22, we said that C, durability, refers to long-lasting, portability, easy to carry, and smaller units, divisibility. Which of the following features is not a characteristic of perfect competition? Not a characteristic of perfect competition. What is perfect competition though? So I'm seeing where somebody says in the chat, B, many buyers, one seller. So if that's not a characteristic, what is the characteristic that would replace that one?
Miss, could you repeat, please, because I dropped out and I just came in back.
Oh. So we're looking at question 23. Which of the following features is not a characteristic of perfect competition? Somebody in the chat said B. So I'm asking the question, why is it that B is not a characteristic, and what would be the characteristic to replace B?
Would it be one, many buyers and many sellers?
Yes, so that would be the correct answer. So B is definitely the answer. So a perfect competitive market has many buyers, many sellers. It's usually easy to enter or exit these markets. Usually persons have perfect information. So buyers are well aware of how the market is operating. Sellers are totally aware of how the market is operating. And the last key figure or key characteristics is that the goods are usually homogeneous. That means they're hard to distinguish. So 24, so to go over that, 23 is B. 24, which of the following is a consequence of widespread retrenchment of a country? Widespread retrenchment of a country. First question you need to ask yourself, what is retrenchment?
Miss, I honestly don't know that meaning, Miss. Could you tell me, please?
Anybody else would like to assist? All right, so retrenchment is similar to what we call recession. So to put it simpler, it's usually when consumers drastically reduce their spending. So it's usually compared or sometimes called recession. So which of the following is a consequence of widespread recession in a country? Can anybody
Miss,
answer that?
Would it be C?
C, a fall in the standard of living. Why C though?
Because they say everyone like they would stop buying goods, so automatically they wouldn't like be buying what they normally would buy or want to buy, so that's why.
So all the answers there are positive except for C. Reduction in crime is a positive response. So if we're going through a recession, there's no way persons are going to reduce the crime rate. Most likely they're going to start stealing more. Increased standard of living, if persons are spending less, that's most likely because they're earning less. So there can't be an increase in the standard of living. Equality in income distribution, that is a phenomenon that does not exist. Income distribution will never be equal. And if we're going through a recession, the gap that exists in the income distribution is definitely going to widen. So our answer is C, a fall in the standard of living.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Next, 25, a pure public good can be described as excludable, diminishable, zero price, complementary. Which one, guys? So what are public goods, by the way? What are public goods? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it, go give mommy, make she give you. What are public goods? Or what are the two terms that are usually linked to public goods? So the two terms, guys, are excludable and rivalrous, right? Public goods are considered to be non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Meaning, if I'm using the particular good, I can't prevent you from using it. That's non-excludable. Rivalrous now represents when we are, is it that my consumption of the goods reduces what you are allotted to? No. If it's a public good, that does not exist. So there and then we know that it can be excludable. It cannot be diminishable because diminishable would probably be something like rivalrous, and it can be complementary. So our answer has to be B, zero price, because we don't pay for public goods. Well, can't say that in Jamaica because there are public bathrooms and you still have to pay. But public goods are supposed to be zero priced. Oh, somebody was typing in the chat. Yes, non-excludable, non-rivalrous. So those are two key terms to know, guys. Go ahead.
Miss, if you don't mind, could you give me like some more examples other than like the public bathrooms?
Parks, some roads can be considered public goods. I'm not sure how many persons, well, everybody watch TV, but like you see those highways that you see on TV with like 4 lanes or probably even more. And
Yes,
they can hold a ton load of traffic going down, that can be considered a public good. If there's not a lot of traffic. So parks, public bathrooms. Let me see what else. I'm trying to think of one that actually fits the non-rival use, because the thing is with most public goods nowadays, they can be argued that not all of them are non-rival use. For example, a bus park is supposed to be a public good, but we know that it runs out of space easily. So you have to pay attention to things like those, because those cannot be considered purely public goods if they fall under that category. And you have goods that are not purely public goods but are considered public goods as well. So that's also something to note. Is that any clearer, the person who just asked?
Yes, Miss. Thank you very much.
No problem. 26 refers to the following table, which shows the market demand and supply of potatoes at a given price. What is the equilibrium price?
12.
How did it arrive at 12?
Because at the price of 12, the market demand is equal to the market supply.
Correct. So that's always where you have equilibrium. Demand equals supply, and that value is at $12, $3.50, $3.50 respectively. Globalization may be mostly accurately defined as A, movement of technology and financial markets worldwide, B, movement of tangible and intangible goods and services, C, international trade of goods and services, including skilled workers, D, the integration of financial services, technology, and commodity markets worldwide.
Would it be D?
Why D?
Because it would be like even all the markets, like all the different countries' economy coming together, like example with trade and those things.
Correct. So A refers to movement. Globalization does not necessarily talk about movement of anything. That's why A and B would not be our answer. International trade of goods and services, that's just a part of what globalization entails. So our most suitable answer is D, integration of financial services, technology, and commodity markets worldwide. 28. If company X is engaged in the cutting of trees to obtain lumber, which is then used by company Y to make furniture, to which sector of the economy does company X belong?
Primary,
Why primary?
because that they would be the main or the first one with the resource. Because if they don't cut it, company Y can't get it to make furniture.
Correct. So they're basically gathering what we call the raw material, right?
Yeah. Same like if we don't like mine the bauxite, we can't get to export it for it to get manufactured into the tin, the pans and the pots and those things.
Correct. So country X is definitely a primary, falls in the primary sector. Country Y would fall in our secondary, and if there was a company that dealt with the distribution of these furnitures, then that would be tertiary. So which of the following financial instruments are used by central banks on behalf of the government? So we understand what all these terms are, right? I know. Or who issues it?
Would it be A?
A is correct. Why A though?
Because my teacher was explaining it to me that treasury bond, bills or bonds are like when we as citizens sell our money to the government, and they would write like they would sign something that would the treasury a certificate, and that would like be how much money they have for us. And I don't know how to explain it fully, but that's what I remembered from it.
And
So,
you are totally correct.
all right.
Don't worry about how you explain it. Once you understand, it's perfectly good. So she's correct. The answer is actually treasury bills. Corporate bonds are not issued by the central bank. Equity securities are not issued by the central bank. Shares on the stock market are not issued by the central bank. The only thing here that is issued by the central bank are treasury bills. And as she said, these are basically certificates of debt. So say I have like $1 million right now, which I don't, and the government decides, all right, they'll be issuing some bonds, and I decide, all right, I'm not going to need my 1 million anytime soon. So I go with my 1 million and I give it to the central bank because they're representing the government. I give it to the central bank. They're going to give me a piece of paper saying that Shereka Simmonds gave us $1 million on that date, and they would also state some terms and conditions of the agreement, probably some maturity time. They probably tell us, oh, you can't come back for it until 5 years later, until 10 years later, something like that. So those are called treasury bills, and they're basic. Sometimes they're referred to as loans to the central bank. So you can look at it from that perspective. So
And,
29,
Miss?
go ahead.
And go ahead, baby.
Miss, so if I say I'm going to do that, am I going to get any interest on it when they give me back the money?
Usually they give you an interest. I think NCB had an agreement with the central bank the other day, and I think it was like 15% over like 5 years. So sometimes the interests are attractive depending on how the economy is operating. But
Okay.
once, go ahead.
Miss, I was saying,
I don't know who is talking. Anybody can speak.
Go ahead, Damien.
Miss, I was just saying that I understand now.
All right, good.
Miss, what I was saying is that when this happens, Miss would wait. The government, because they are like practically buying our money from us, they would be losing money. Not really in the sense of losing, but you get what I mean?
Oh, so
Like,
you're asking that if when they have to pay us back, is it that they'll be losing money?
yeah.
Not necessarily. All right. So the role of the central bank is to monitor, well, one of the main roles that is to monitor monetary supply. We know that, right? So
Yes,
if we realize that there is a ton load of money circulating in the economy, and you know that money supply is linked to inflation, if the government chooses to sell these bonds, they're basically reducing the money supply, hence reducing inflation. Later, when they have to give you back that money, if inflation is high, your money has no value. If inflation is low, then your money might have a little value. So it's not necessarily the government losing, but they're basically just trying to protect the economy.
Oh, okay, Miss.
Mm-hmm. And banks earn a lot of money, guys, whether it's the central bank or commercial bank. Interest rates nowadays, loans, because central banks also issue loans to commercial banks. So they earn a lot of money. So if you can tap into that and earn some money from them, don't take it as, oh, we're putting burden on the government. No, you're earning your fair share of money. And guys, I'm also encouraging you, look into investment in stocks, bonds, funds, anything like that. It's very interesting. As persons who study economics, you guys should tap into the stock market. 30, when injection of capital is greater than withdrawal, national income will increase, decrease, and remain constant, be in equilibrium. This is pretty simple. It's increase.
Seem
Because
like
if we're
if it decrease, the government will have enough money, so yeah, it will decrease. To pay out, so it will decrease.
So our answer is increase because we're earning more than we're actually spending in terms of capital. 31, line X represent which payment? Goods taken on credit, payment to the factor of income, payment of tax to the government.
The payment
The
of
financial
tax to the government.
Why would you say C?
Because the firms, the businesses, they have to pay taxes in order to be operating. So
True, but look at the two parties that are taking part in this circular flow. We're talking about household and firms.
then it would be D.
So we have financial institution for loan. And the same question again, why D?
Probably because the households would be taking out loans. Individuals would be taking out loans.
But would we take out loans from firms? Remember, firms are basically producers of goods and services. You can't look at it from a simple financial way. If you get what I'm saying, you can't be specific to the financial institution.
Okay, Miss.
Understand?
Yes, Miss.
Anybody else would like to try? Anybody? It would be payment to the factors of production. So our answer would be B. Remember now, guys, firms, they buy labor, they buy land, entrepreneurial talent, all of that is supplied by the household. We in turn purchase the goods and services from these firms. So if they gave us one line going from household to firms and it says payment for goods and services, so that's basically saying we're paying for whatever the firms are producing. So the question is asking us, what is the firm paying us for? They're paying us for our land that they rented or purchased. They're paying us wages for working in their factories or whatever. So the answer is B. It represents payment to the factors of production. Everybody get that?
Yes, Miss.
All right. 32. When a financial asset is described as liquid, it means that it is a weak financial asset. Its price and value fluctuates often. It can be converted into cash. It is not acceptable as a medium of exchange.
Would it be B?
C.
B, why B and why C?
Because as the term for B, what as the term say liquid, so it have liquidity. So it's not steady. So
All right, why C?
Because I know that liquidity is so easy, it can be converted into cash.
So that's correct. The answer is actually C. Why it won't be prices or value fluctuate often would most likely represent to something that's floating. So probably you've come across the term of floating exchange rate. B would most likely define floating exchange rates. C is the better answer because, as somebody just said, liquidity has to do with how easily something can be converted into cash. Clear?
yes, miss.
All right. 33. Joe Brown first sells his produce at the market and then saves his money until he reaches enough, or until he has enough to buy a tractor. Which of the following functions is money performing in the second case? So the second case is where he saved his money until he can buy a tractor.
Medium of exchange.
Medium of exchange. In the second case, remember the second case is him saving, you know.
Oh wait, it's like it would be the store of value.
Correct.
And then the medium of exchange would be when he buys the tractor, right?
Yes.
All right.
So it's actually store of value. And I should explain because he's saving. So he's putting down his money, he's allowing it to pile up. 34, which of the following is not a function of the financial sector? Providing a safe place for savings, preventing liquidity within the economy, facilitating payments of goods and services, making credit available to households and firms. Is not a function. And guys, you know the answers, you know, so stop doubting yourselves and just tell me.
Is it B?
B is correct, preventing liquidity in the economy. There's no way you wouldn't want money or other objects to be easily converted to cash. So there's no way the financial sector would be aiming towards B. So B is our answer. So if a country has a comparative advantage in the production of computers over country Y, then country X will export all its computers. Neither country X nor country Y should specialize in the production of computers. The opportunity cost of producing computers is higher in country X than country Y. The opportunity cost of producing computers is lower in country X than in country Y.
D.
B or D?
D, as in
Correct.
dog.
D is correct. So previously we said that opportunity cost has to do with how effectively a country can produce a goods or service, and if it's effective in producing that goods or service, that means it's experiencing a lower economic cost in relation to other countries. So our answer is D. The opportunity cost of producing computer is lower in country X than in country Y. Which of the following is not a financial institution?
Trade union.
All right. So that's correct. Trade union is not a financial institution. What are financial institutions, by the way? Anybody? A simple definition for financial institution.
A financial, I can list like the functions, like it is somewhere you can save money, you can exchange and as it say they can store it for you. Wait, me
So
just repeat myself. Wait, me repeat myself.
yes, so they allow you to take loans and they accept deposit in the form of savings. So those are the two main things that define financial institutions. Yes, and some financial institutions participate in investment. So again, two main characteristics of financial institutions: they accept deposits, or what we call savings, and they issue loans. So our trade union does not participate in any of that. Our credit union issues loan and it does accept deposits. Commercial bank, investment, savings, loans, basically do everything. Insurance, development banks. I don't know how much you know about development banks.
Would that be like the CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank?
Yeah.
It is responsible like for the countries within the Caribbean.
Yeah, so they basically issue loans to assist small businesses in developing. So if you have a business and you think, well, in the future, this business might contribute positively to the economy, you can probably get a loan from development banks. And they're usually funded by our governments. So the CDC is funded by all the Caribbean countries that are a part of CDC. (37) Which of the following statement best describes a fiscal deficit?
Yes, in dog.
I didn't hear you. Repeat, please.
Miss as in dog.
D, government spending exceeds government revenue. Correct. So anytime you hear the word deficit, just know that spending is exceeding revenue, whether it's fiscal, monetary, whether it has to do with BOP, anything like that. Once you hear deficit, we're spending more than we're earning. Fred earns his money by occasionally doing jobs such as painting, repairing, and cleaning, while Wilma earns her money from occasionally babysitting. In which sector would Fred and Wilma activity be located? Formal, foreign, informal, financial.
Would it be the informal sector?
Yes, so it would be informal. Can somebody give me a example of what a formal sector would probably look like?
Would that probably be the blue, the workers like in the construction and those things?
Can be. Can be.
So I would like a bank teller be in the formal sector.
Yeah. Why I say can be for the construction worker, because you know you have persons who just pop up on construction site and throw two buckets. But if they're working on,
Yes, miss.
yeah, but if they're working under a contract, then it would be a formal sector.
Okay.
So you have to be more specific with the construction.
Another example of the formal sector would be the office workers, like the receptionists and those people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually what defines a formal sector is some sort of agreement is formally made between the two parties. So with Wilma might just say, Miss, give me $20 per hour for watch your baby. No written agreement was made, no signing to any paper or nothing like that. Same thing for Fred. Fred just go paint Miss Jane walls and she give him $1,000. But with the bank now, you know, once you start working, you sign your contract to say, oh, I'll be doing this and this job that entails that and I'll be paid that amount. So yeah. So 38 is definitely C. 39 refers to the following table, which shows the flow of income in an economy. The flow labeled I represents what? So they're referring to lenders and borrowers. When you hear lenders and borrowers, what comes to mind?
Miss A.
A, correct. The question still stands. What comes to mind when you hear lenders and borrowers?
I think it's banks, you know, like when you take out a loan.
And the
That's me.
customers, as in the consumers.
Yeah.
Like
So
credit
it's
or like
usually-
goods.
Yeah, so it's usually either taking out a loan or, as somebody just said, credit and goods. So definitely A is the answer. It represents loanable funds. Resources, both human and physical, are required to produce goods. This statement above most accurately describes factors of
It's factors
production.
of production.
Yeah. So it represents our factors of production. Why not factors of productivity?
No, miss, because the productivity would depend on the amount of resources and the labor force.
Like how efficiently you work, I think.
Yeah. Nice. Great, guys. Perfect. So 40 is definitely C. 41, which of the following is not a service?
See?
Not a service.
The motorcycle,
All right. Now, service is an intangible good. So education, you can't actually touch the education that you're getting from the school. You can't actually touch the healthcare. Hairdressing, you can actually touch the process of combing your hair. So the only answer here is C, a motorcycle. 42 refers to the following table, which shows the rate of inflation and the average percentage increase in wages over a 4-year period. In which year was the increase in real wage the greatest?
would it be from 2012? Would it be 2012?
Why 2012?
Because the wage increase is 20% and the rate of inflation along with that is 10%, while in 2011, the wage increase is still 20%, but the rate of inflation is just 5%.
Miss, I'm thinking A. Well, I'm not sure.
All right, so first we need to ask ourselves, what is real wage?
Would it
What
be
is
when you
real?
divide the wage increase by the rate of inflation?
Why divide?
Or multiply?
Or subtract or add? All right, so our real wage, guys, is basically our wage less the rate of inflation. So
Oh,
if we have an increase of 20% inflation basically is eating away 5% of that based on 2011. So our real wage is left with 15%. So even though they tell us, oh, wage increased by, even though they tell us wage increased by 20%, we have to account for inflation. If we get rid of the part that inflation takes away, we end up with 15. And if we repeat that process going down, you realize that 2011 has the highest, which is 15. So again, real wage is nominal wage less inflation. So our answer is A. Which of the following is not a characteristic of Caribbean countries? Everybody should know this one.
D.
D, major producers of manufactured goods. Correct. And there are no question as to why D is the answer, right?
No, me.
Which of the following is not a benefit of international trade?
D. As in dog.
Yeah, D.
D, increased dependency on other countries.
That wouldn't be good because if you have to depend on another country and suppose one time them don't come through, the economy are gonna suffer because we don't have that certain goods there or service.
Yeah, that's correct. So D is the answer. International trade does provide us with a larger market size because we're able to export and import goods from a wide variety of places. B, we have more access to goods, hence we have a greater variety of goods and service. Increase in the efficiency of local market because international trade increases competition. And if this farmer out here realizes that, well, persons can import the same thing that you're selling at a much cheaper rate and probably better quality, then that local farmer is going to have to put in the work in order to sell quality produce in order to compete with these international markets. So definitely 44 is D. Which of the following situations would lead to an improvement in a country's terms of trade? Before we even answer that, what is terms of trade?
I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
Ratio of a country's import and export price.
Can someone repeat what she said because I'm hearing? Come on, guys. What is terms of trade? Or type it.
Means would it be when the amount of export exceeds import?
No. That more has to do with BOP and having a deficit in your trade.
Means someone
Yeah.
typed in the chat.
The ratio of a country's import to export prices. True. So if we know that it's the ratio of a country's import and export prices, then what would the answer for 45 be? So we're looking at improvements. So improvement would be that we are benefiting.
Would it be 1 and 2?
It's B, 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Export prices rise, import prices fall. Export prices rise faster than import prices, and that's correct. 3 could definitely not be included in our answer because that would only increase our debt. If the prices of imports are rising faster than export, that means we're not earning as much. So our answer is B, 1 and 2 only. The terms of trade of country X is 150. This is considered to be neutral, favorable.
Would that be inadequate? But wait, what's, let us say, where is the other one that we should compare it to? Or that's just the question? I don't understand it.
That's just the question. Remember, in the terms of trade is a ratio. It's basically a fraction. So it has 2 parts, a numerator and a denominator. You guys understand what I'm saying?
No, not really, miss.
All right. Yes. So with terms of trade, as we said before, it's a ratio of imports and exports. So it's a fraction, meaning there's something at the top and there's something at the bottom. So we need to decipher what is at the top, what is at the bottom. Export is usually at the top. So we're going to call our export X and our imports I. Everybody understand how we arrived here?
Yes, miss.
All right, so if we're saying that our export is, I don't know, probably 300. And our imports is 100. End up with 3. And if we do the reverse and see our export is 100 and our imports is 300, you realize we end up with something like a third, which is a fraction. Why am I doing this, guys? Is to show you the comparison. If you realize, if exports exceed imports, you realize you get a whole number. If imports exceeds exports, you get a fraction. Everybody see where I'm going with this?
Miss, so would it be favorable?
Correct, because we're experiencing a whole number which is way over 3. 150 is a lot. So we're looking at that it's favorable. So you can just jot that down or make a note of that somewhere. If you have a whole number as your terms of trade, that means it's favorable. If you have a fraction, that means something need to fix up. It can be considered unfavorable. Some persons refer to it as inadequate, but usually it's either favorable or unfavorable. Everybody see how we arrived at favorable, right?
Yes, miss.
So the International Monetary Fund functions as a human rights organization, regulatory authority for international trade, large multinational corporation, maximizing its efficiency through globalization, or is it a financial institution that provides strategic guidance to country to ensure financial stability?
D.
As in dog.
Yeah, it's D. So D is definitely our answer. IMF has nothing to do with Human rights, it doesn't regulate international trade, and it doesn't really deal with multinational corporations. So one important objective of CARICOM is to improve the standard of living, beginning with smaller states, to encourage economic development of its members, maximize multinational efficiency, or provide strategic guidance.
Yes, in boy.
Yes, it's there to encourage economic development among its members. So if a country can produce 20 units of product X and 10 units of product Y, the opportunity cost of 1 unit of Y is
1 unit of X.
how did you arrive at 1?
Miss, because you divide. Wait,
Divide which two values?
you divide the units of product X and the units of product Y. But it wouldn't be 1, it would be 2.
Would it equal 2? Like, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be 2.
So it would be 2. So the question is basically asking us, how much of Y do we have to give up in order to gain 1? How much of X do we have to give up in order to gain 1 of Y? And we just simply divide the 20 units of X by the 10 units of Y. And something you can use when you get questions like these, if they ask you for the opportunity cost of product Y is always in a denominator. So hence why we divide by 10 and not by 20. Let me see if I can write that so it's easier. So we're saying 20 divided by 10. If they ask us what is the opportunity cost of 1 unit of X, we would have to divide by 20 instead. Everybody see where I'm going with this?
Yes, miss.
So if they ask you for the opportunity cost of a particular good, that good is always in the denominator. 50 Sorry about that, guys. So 50, which of the following phrase best describes or explains the term tariff? What are tariffs?
Miss, would it be D or B?
So tariffs. Repeat, you said BRD.
Yeah, I would preferably go with B.
Why B over D?
Because tariffs, because I call it most countries or all countries have tariffs to control the to regulate the amount of goods are going in and are going out.
Going in.
So, and they would, in order for them to go in, they would have to pay the other country that is like sending them in would have to pay a tariff. That is the tax.
So tariff. So you were correct when you narrowed it down to B and D. Tariff is definitely a tax. So our answer is either B or D, as you said before. And tariff is imposed on goods that are coming into the country, as you said. So our answer is definitely B. The level of tax that is levied on imports entering a country. Everybody get that?
Yes, miss.
Nice. Which of the following will contribute to a surplus on the balance of trade of a country? So balance of trade. What is that?
Miss, would it be A when export exceeds import?
Mhm. But why did you choose that answer? How do
A,
you know that? Yeah, how do you know that balance of trade is linked to export and imports?
because it is like how much a country spends and how much they buy, no, how much they spend and how much they receive. So the spending would be when they're importing, and the buying, the selling would be when they're exporting. So if they sell more,
Alright.
the balance of trade would be better for them. And if they sell less
Mhm.
and import more, it would be bad for them.
Yes, so that's definitely correct. The surplus is when they're experiencing some sort of gain. So, and the only way that they can gain in a balance of trade is when export is greater than the value of import. And note, guys, we're looking at the value and not the volume. If you realize C and D refer to the volume, C could also be our answer, you know. But C could not be the answer because it spoke about the volume. We can be exporting a lot of goods, but we're not making a lot of money. So please note, it's that the value of export is greater, not the volume. All right, next. Which of the following is not a determinant of demand for laptop computers? So
You see?
C,
Yes, miss.
why C?
Miss, because the determinants are the thing that you know you think about
Like means the
before you
preference
push it.
that the
Yeah.
preference that would cause
See,
it to come about the development of it.
if you want to buy a laptop, you're not going to think about the tax on laptops.
You are correct. I'm just asking, guys. Don't feel too intimidated when I ask why. It's just for others and yourself to understand why you choose a particular answer. So income is definitely something we'll consider because if we can't afford it, we just can't afford it. Price is definitely something some persons might consider the tax, but it's not a major determinant. Preference, definitely something that persons look at. So C is our answer, a tax on laptops. 53, the central bank calls for an increase in the reserve requirements of commercial banks. How will this affect the operation of commercial banks? What is the
Miss,
reserve requirements?
I miss the answer would miss, would this be like when someone want to go and take out a loan, and when they go and take out a loan, they can't take any more than such amount because the bank has to keep back a certain amount within its reserves, and so to cut down the circulation of money in the economy.
All right, so that is a perfect example. So what is that causing? What is that causing? If they're reducing the amount of money you can borrow, what is happening there?
So their liquid assets will be reduced. So there will be like
Correct.
only a certain amount of money that you can borrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for example, if they are allowed like to keep back 10% of say $1,000 they have, and they have to keep back 10%, and the 10% that they would keep back is $100, and they would loan out the 900.
Yeah.
So that $100 would go in the reserve requirement. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's 100 or 10% is increased to 20%, you know, we only have
They would have
800 now
to loan.
Yeah. So that's correct. Our answer is A, their liquid asset will be reduced. And that can lead to a couple other things following. So it can be that their ability to create credit increases. Their ability to create credit actually decreases. Their loan to money market decreases, and they'll actually attract more deposit because persons are going to look at it as, oh, if the reserve ratio increases, that means the bank won't be able to lend out most of my money, so my money will be secured. So A is our answer. Or the restriction of international trade through tariffs, embargoes, quotas, exchange controls is referred to as
Protectionism.
correct. Why not globalism or structural adjustment?
This isn't Miss Globalization is a positive thing. So it's like, oh, Miss, you know how the world function now with the advancements to technology. So it could be
And the reason why
bilateral agreement has to do with like an agreement made between like two nations. Miss, that has nothing to do with tariffs and embargoes.
Yeah.
Miss, and structural adjustment. Miss, I don't understand that, but it doesn't fit into the question.
Yes, basically elimination was used here. Somebody else was saying something?
Yes, Miss. The reason why I was saying that I use protectionism is because, as we were saying before, the tariffs, the embargo, because the embargo is when like a country is put on pause, so they can't trade or anything with certain countries. So that would be, as I say, a restriction on the tariff too. So that is protecting the economy.
Correct. Nice. Yes, guys, you all are correct. 54, a country is experiencing a balance of payment deficit. Which of the following measures could be taken to reduce the deficit in the short term?
Miss, would it be to impose restrictions on goods imported from other countries?
Mm-hmm. And why would we choose that answer over the others?
Miss, because as you say, Miss, the tariffs, going back to the tariffs, Miss, it's when goods are coming into a country and that specific country that's selling the goods has to pay a tariff for it to come in. So the country would gain money from that.
Yes, Miss. So D would mean less spending. So Miss, because you know a deficit has to do with revenue being less than expenditure. Yes, Miss. So D would mean that the government would spend less.
Great. And also they refer to short term. So the only thing here that can happen in short term, which is probably like a year, is the government imposing restriction. If they wanted to reduce the volume of their exports, that would take a longer period of time. Engaging in trade with other low cost producers is going to take a longer time. So the shortest and probably the most effective is to impose restriction on the importation of goods and services from other countries. Who are the two persons that I keep hearing?
Miss Sharona.
Sharona and
Miss Moisha.
Moisha. All right, nice. It's good that you guys are participating. Which of the following is most likely to lead to a greater international investment flow in the Caribbean region?
Globalization.
Globalization, correct. Not much explanation is needed for that one. Which of the following are ways of calculating national income?
Miss, would it be 1 and 3?
1 and 2. 1 and 3, I mean, Miss B.
Yeah, 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 is our answer. We have the income, expenditure, and the third one would be the output method. So income method, expenditure method, and output method. So these are answers. So FDI stands for
B, Miss, foreign direct investments.
Yes, yes.
correct. Which one example of an entrepreneur is
Okay.
A store owner or no,
Shop
Miss,
owner.
a shop owner. A shop
yeah,
owner.
shop owner. Which of the following is not a benefit of trade liberalization to consumers?
Miss D, price of goods and services will increase.
Not a benefit.
Miss,
Mhm.
Miss, that would be a benefit to us to pay more.
That's correct. Because there's no way we are experiencing a more open market, yet still we have to pay more. It better them close it. It better they close it. So D is definitely the answer. Prices of goods and services will increase. And that is the end of 2015. I'm going to give you guys like a 2-minute break, go drink some water. That's right now I'm interested in. And we'll start with the next paper. Don't go too far though.
Okay, Miss.
All right, guys, are we back as yet?
Yes, miss.
All right, nice. So this is 2019, I think. Yeah, 2019. Question 1. Economic choices are made because A, people needs exceed their wants, resources are scarce while people's wants are unlimited. We did
Miss
this
B.
question before. Repeat.
B.
Correct. So B is the answer. As I said, guys, CSEC multiple choice always repeats. So we might run through this paper faster than we think. So Anna is considering purchasing a new laptop computer. Which of the following factors is least likely to influence her decision?
Miss A.
Least
C.
likely?
Wait, Miss C.
Yeah, C. Because it doesn't really matter to her what the producer's cost is. So whether it costs them $1 trillion to locate all of the chips to make the laptops, she's not concerned about that. She's only concerned about, can I afford it? Is the price reasonable? And is what is being advertised to me what I will be getting? Question 3. Item 3 refers to the following diagram, which illustrates the PPF of an economy that is capable of producing bauxite and sugar in different combinations. Point X on the diagram above represents which one?
D.
D as in dog.
Yes, an unattainable combination. And P represents,
Miss
Miss
the yeah, say unemployed resources, Miss, or inefficient working
there, and M.
would be efficient.
Lovely. Which of the following item is a primary product?
Miss Bauxite.
Bauxite.
Why bauxite? Bread couldn't be a primary product.
No, Miss, because remember they have to get the flour. The
Exactly.
flour would be
And
the
then
primary product.
Yes,
But the bread
correct.
is secondary.
bread would be secondary, yeah.
Item 5 refers to the following diagram, which shows the relationship between the production of good X and good Y by a certain country using all of its resources. The name is given to what name is given to the curve represented above?
D.
Production possibility curve.
Yes,
A
B is
PPF.
correct. Yeah. Everybody has sparks. Celebrate long time and I just go on like, which of the following is least likely to influence a government's economic decision regarding businesses? Least likely.
A.
Why A?
Miss what? Miss retirement have nothing to do with Miss economic growth.
Actually, it could be. Because A, probably because if them include A and give more benefits, like more than what them are now, people that are more encouraged, that are more motivated for work. So when them know, so when them get old, them will take care, or if you understand what I mean. So probably it could have been one, but it can be the least still. But if you are looking at it from a different perspective, yeah.
So increasing retirement benefit does affect our economy, but in this case, its impact on our economy is not as large as the others. So I think that was Sharona just now. Sharona's explanation is correct. It does affect our economy.
Damien answer, it was C with the laptop C.
Oh. Damien, see how we got C?
Yes, miss.
Oh, Miss C's the answer?
No,
For
for 6 is A, but Miss was saying that my explanation, it could work in a different perspective, but right now, A is the answer.
A is the
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 7, resources. All right, this question is a repeat. Somebody tell me the
Miss
answer.
C.
Miss.
C, factors of production, correct. The next question is also a repeat.
Dog.
Miss. Yes, Miss Dog.
Interest, perfect. So how many units of labor produce the highest average product of labor? What is average product of labor?
Miss, would it be when it
Total
divide?
out divided by the unit of labor.
Yes, so total divided by the units. So do some calculation, tell me which one would you yield the highest average product?
It would be B 7.
7? Yeah, that's what I got too. Anybody else got 7 or a different answer?
Miss, it's B for true.
For persons who are unclear, we basically divide the total output. So for the first one, it would be 372 divided by 6. The second, it would be 455 divided by 7. And after you do that for all of them, the one with the larger value, that would be your answer. So I think the first one is something like 63 or 62. The second one should be 65. And the others is like 50 something, 60 something. So answer is 7. Number 10. Sam and Jack started a catering business. They took out a loan, a bank loan, acquired a site in a busy city center and hired 2 catering assistants. Under which factor of production will the roles of Sam and Jack be classified?
The entrepreneurial talent.
Correct. But why didn't we choose labor?
No, because the labor would be the 2
People that they
assistants.
employ.
Yes. That's
But they are the
correct.
ones that started the business.
Nice. So 11, an advantage of a planned economy is that
Miss B.
correct firms have a greater incentive to be efficient. 12 refers to the following table, which shows government spending as a percentage of gross domestic product of 4 countries. The economy system of country X is most likely mixed, planned, subsistence, free market.
It's a mix.
X, mixed.
I would say planned.
Planned, I think planned.
All right, I think that was a young man's voice. Why did you say planned? And Moisha.
It's because in planned economy, it's the government taking charge of the economy and the finances. So since they have the highest percentage of the GDP, I would pick planned.
Yeah, that's correct. That was your explanation as well, Moisha?
Miss, I was thinking back on the question before Miss that it said like, Miss, was it a planned economy? It was talking about Miss firms having greater Miss more efficiency. Miss, so when I saw that had the highest GDP, I thought planned as well.
So the first explanation was on point. It is planned because government spending accounts for more than 50% of total GDP. That means government is taking care of everything. Everything. So government is in control of most of the happenings of society. So definitely planned. Which of the following item is not an example of a primary product?
Furniture.
Furniture.
Yeah, furniture. Furniture is secondary. What would be the primary product for furniture?
Lumber.
Oh,
The economic system where major economic decisions are made by private individuals and businesses is known as
Planned.
A.
YA, YB, YC.
Miss, because for B, Miss, reason why I say B is because it is made by the different individuals that would be own the different firms or so. So and
Alright,
it's a
so why
major.
it's not B? B has to do with government. So planned
Oh.
economy has to do with government taking charge of the economy.
Okay, Miss.
Yes. So for the person who said AYA,
Miss A.
Because A, as the free market, it doesn't really involve the government, which isn't mentioned in the question. And along with that, the definition, it talks about private businesses and individuals. So I just went with that one.
mhm. And for the person who said C, or nobody said C.
Miss, I said it, Miss, but I realized that I'm not correct.
Yeah. So controlled is basically planned. It's just another word for planned economy. But free market is definitely our answer because, as said before, free market has to do with buyers and sellers interacting and determining prices in the market. So there is nobody telling us, oh, we have to sell this for that, we have to do that. No. Based on how we interact with each other, prices and so on are determined by that. So 14 is A. 15, prices of goods in market economy fluctuate while this is a repeat question. While prices of goods in planned economy tend to be fixed, the most likely reason for this difference is anybody?
Miss, the
Miss D.
The demand and supply force is correct. I just said it, guys. Demand and supply determine prices. The supply curve will shift to the left if what happens?
Miss, it falls cost of production falls.
Why fall and not rise?
Miss, because when it rises, it goes to the right.
You sure? Remember, it's
For me, so
supply curve we're looking at now.
when there's less cost of production, it shifts to the right.
I'm not hearing you clearly. Can you repeat?
Miss, when the cost of production falls, doesn't it shift to the right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It will be cost of production rise then.
Yeah. So ignore the crappy writing, guys. Remember, the supply curve kind of moves different from how our demand curve would move. If we're located at SO, which is our first supply curve, and we decided that for some strange reason, we're producing furnitures, and the persons who are cutting down the trees decide that, well, them now work for $20 or no more. Them decide to them want $50. So we now have to pay them more to cut down the same amount of trees. So the cost of production rises. Everybody understand that?
Miss, I could repeat, please.
Yes.
All right. So we're producing furnitures, right? We're on the supply side. We're the ones making the furnitures. we hire some persons to cut down some trees, and we usually pay them $20 an hour. They decided that they won't be working for $20 anymore. They want $50 per hour. So then and there, the cost of finding the raw material increases from $20 to $50. We get that?
Yes, miss.
So if there's a rise in how much we have to pay to get a particular goods produced, that means we can't produce as much as we used to before. Understand?
Yes, miss.
So if we're not producing as much as we used to before, which one of the curves would we fall on? S1 or S2?
S1.
Mm-mm.
Oh, S2 because it's the second. So, miss, when
Yes.
you're calculating it, miss, you would be calculating. You'd be taking away S2 from S1.
No, all right. Look at it this way. We're not talking about any figures yet. We're not really talking about, we're just trying to get the concept of why we're moving from one point to another. So the persons want more than what we were paying before. So if we usually make 100 furnitures, we can't make 100 anymore.
Oh, miss, because you would have to give up a certain amount of the money to pay them more.
Pay the workers, correct. So
Oh.
if we usually produce at this point here, Q1, the cost that we face due to this increase in wages would cost us to produce here. I'm going to call this QS. So there's a reduction in the amount that we supply, and this is due to an increase in production costs.
Okay, miss.
So if there's a reduction in production costs, so say we find this new machine that can cut down the trees at a much faster rate and at low maintenance, then we're able to make more furniture because we have more materials coming in, so we can make more.
I would gain more money.
Exactly. So we would move our supply curve now to a point where quantity increases, and that would be out here. I'm just gonna call it QI. These letters have no value, no meaning to them. So an increase in production costs will cause a reduction in supply. I repeat, an increase in production costs will cause a reduction in supply. And a reduction in supply is denoted by a shift to the left of your original supply curve. A shift to the left of your original supply curve. A reduction in production costs causes your supply curve to shift to the right, and you increase output or you increase profit because you're able to produce more. So going back to the question now, if we shift to the left, what would be our answer?
It would increase.
Yes,
So
or cost of
production rise.
Rise, yes. Any questions? Everybody see how we got cost of production rising to be our answer? Come guys, let me know if you're with me or you want me to go over. Let me know.
Yes, miss.
Yes, you're okay, or yes, go over.
Miss, I'm okay.
All right, good. 17 refers to the following diagram, which shows the price of good X and the quantity of good X demanded. So the movement of the curve, of the demand curve of good X from D to D1 results from an increase in price, income, price of complement, cost of inputs. What would our answer be?
Miss, would it be the cost of inputs used to produce the good?
This D means ready with demand, right?
D represents demand.
This income of consumers?
Yeah, it would be the income of consumers. Remember now, guys, demand has to do with consumers, supply has to do with producers, right? So if they tell you that the demand curve shifts, it definitely has something to do with what's happening with our consumers. So hence why D could not be our answer, because cost of inputs would only affect our supply. The person who said D, you're getting that? All right. And it wouldn't be the price, because price only causes movement along a curve. It doesn't cause a shift. I'm going to say that again. Price only causes movement along a curve. It doesn't cause a shift. If price changes, we only move from one point on our demand curve to another point. We don't skip to a totally different demand curve. So the only plausible answer here is B. The income of the consumers change. 18, government reduces tax on carrots. This is a repeat again. This causes the price of carrots to fall by 50%. Quantity demanded then rises by 50. The price elasticity of demand for carrots is what? 1. So the income elasticity of demand for cars is 5. If a recession causes a decrease of 20% in income, then quantity of cars demanded is likely to increase by 25, increase by 100, decrease by 25, decrease by 100. Which one would it be? Remember, your income in elasticity is equal to change in price over change in quantity. Any guess?
This would it decrease by 25%?
Decrease is correct, but why 25%?
What would be 25?
Miss, because the demand is 5, and if the recession cause income to decrease by 20, the demand for car would also drop. So
Yeah, so the demand will fall, that's correct.
so that's why.
No, it's not 25, it's actually 100, but I want you guys to see where you went wrong. Look at the formula again. It says income income elasticity is equal to change in price. Well, in this case, it will be change in income over change in quantity, right? If
Yeah.
IE is 5 and our income changes by 20%.
And is 5. And the change in quantity, that would be the demand drop.
The change in
Oh,
quantity
you would times it.
yeah, it would be multiplied.
Oh, so
So
that's why
if
I
you
get
realize, yeah, if you realize Q here is in our denominator, so persons might say, but when we work it out, I not get 100. You won't get 100. Why? Remember, there's an inverse relationship between demand and prices, right? Right, guys?
yes, miss.
So if it is that, wait, key thing to note, guys, you know, we've been looking at the question the wrong way. The question asks us not about prices, you know, that's why I'm here to talk. Let me erase this. So let's read the question again. Look at me, I fall asleep. The income inelasticity of demand for cars is 5. What do we know about income and demand?
Miss, when income decreases, demand also drops, and when
Yes,
income increases, demand increases as well.
yes, that's correct. So if there is a recession,
So it
and
would be decreasing then.
oh yes, because a recession.
Yes.
This me I fall asleep. Thank you, guys. So I was correct at first. How we arrive at the 100? Just multiply 5 times 20, 100.
Miss, it's increase?
No,
No,
decreasing.
decrease
Oh,
because it's
oh.
recession. Decrease because it's a recession. But I need to go and wash my face. Yeah, so it's in decrease by 100. 20. Everybody clear on that, or I need to like show working and explain properly since we kind of got a little confused.
Miss, I understand.
Could you go through it, please?
All right, going over. So the relationship that exists between income and demand, if there's an increase in our income, it is expected that we're going to demand more, right? So considering that there's a recession and our income decreases, we're expecting that our demand for cars will also decrease. And we want to know by how much. In this case, it would be 20 times 5 because of the formula. Income elasticity or price elasticity is equal to change in price or income over change in quantity. So income goes up by 20. Income decreases, by 20. It is expected that the demand for cars is going to decrease by 20 times whatever your elasticity of income or income elasticity is, which is 5. So 20 times 5 gives us the 100.
Okay, miss, thank you.
You're welcome. So which of the following diagram illustrates a perfectly inelastic demand? We
Miss
spoke
A.
about this earlier. Inelastic.
Miss, I said B.
B. Remember, you know, guys,
Miss A
inelastic.
is elastic.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss, I got it mixed up.
So inelastic is vertical, elastic is horizontal. And if they ask you to define, like, I wouldn't say, yeah, unitary, how would that look?
Means
Like
it would start from the origin.
The supply, on the supply side, it would start from the origin, but on the demand side, it would look something like D.
Okay.
So to go over that, inelastic demand, vertical, elastic, horizontal. Next question, which of the following economic concepts is defined as the benefits received by a third party as a result of an economic transaction? So
Must be.
benefits. So that
That
again?
would be a positive externality.
Yeah. So benefit gave it away. So benefit, it has to be something positive. So the answer is B.
This what was the answer for
external.
20?
20, B.
Okay, thanks.
All right. We're at 22. Which of the following market supply curves? Oh, these are market
Yes.
supply curve. Go ahead.
So it was 21.
21, we said was B as well.
Okay, thank you.
22, which of the following curve shows that price elasticity of supply
This
is
is
unitary?
C3.
Correct. C is definitely the answer because it starts at the origin. So a normal supply curve for farm produce will slope upwards from left to right if A, B, C, or D.
Miss, would it be D? Willing to increase supply as demand increases.
Yeah, so they will be willing. No. D or B.
No, miss, I said D as in dog.
Oh, no.
Must be.
Would be B.
Which one, miss?
B. Why B? Remember that we're looking at only our supply curve, right? We're not considering the fact that our demand curve is on our graph. On our graph, all right, look at this graph over here. This one. Price, quantity, those are the two things that mostly affect our supply outside of, production costs, technology and stuff like that, right?
Yes, miss.
Everybody? So when you say they are willing to supply as demand increases, suppose that we're looking at a local market and nobody in the local market wants to buy our produce, but there are persons overseas that we're exporting to. Is it that we're not going to produce because, oh, nobody in our country doesn't want to produce? Or is it that we're going to produce once there is some sort of purchase?
Miss,
You get
we're
what I'm
going to
saying?
produce once there's some sort of purchase.
Yeah. So once you're making some sort of profit, which is in the form of price, persons will continue to produce that goods or service. So look at it that way. If people, whether local, international, want to buy a goods or service, they have to pay a price. That price now determines if our goods is, hitting the market or it's crumbling, whatever. If our prices continue to increase, that means our goods is performing very well. So we'll continue to produce more because we want to tap in to that profit. And if you're given anything that has to do with how a supply curve or demand curve is derived, try not to link it to the other. So we don't want anything that's talking about consumers. We don't want anything that's talking about demand. Everybody get that? Are we still unclear? Right, I'm guessing everybody's okay. So item 24 refers to the following diagram, which shows the demand for and supply of grapes. What is the equilibrium price and quantity? Equilibrium price and quantity. How do we determine our equilibrium price and quantity?
Miss, when the demand and
It's the
is the same,
supply.
demand and the price is, or the quantity and demand is the same.
So quantity demanded and quantity supplied is the same. And which point?
Miss, would that be Q0?
Q0 and P0, right?
Yes, Miss.
Yes. So our answer is A, P0, Q0. Everybody see how we arrived at that answer?
Yes, Miss.
No, miss.
All right. Did somebody say no, or was I hearing?
Yes, miss, I said no.
All right. So a pure good, a pure public goods can be described as
B,
Zero
price.
price.
zero price. Nice, you remember this question. Next, 30. 30 refers to the following diagram, which illustrates a situation of a negative externality. Negative externality. What is a negative externality, people?
Miss, I honestly don't know. Or probably I know, but I don't know it as.
It's like something that negatively affects the third party.
All right, guys, sorry about that. So negative externality has to do with the cost that we face due to some activity by probably a business, an industry, something like that. So the best example or the simplest example that persons usually use is secondhand smoking. The secondhand smoking, the person who is smoking probably don't see, but you, the person who doesn't smoke, and you're inhaling all that smoke, health benefit, well, health risk are attached to that. So that is an external cost or negative externality as they refer to it. Everybody get that?
Can you repeat that?
So I was using the example of secondhand smoke. So it's usually when society or somebody who does not actively participate in an activity suffer some sort of consequence. So I'm not the smoker, but I'm inhaling all that smoke, and I probably develop some lung disease later if I constantly do it and all of that. So I'm facing some sort of cost, but I'm not the one carrying out the activity. Any clearer?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
All right. So with our negative externality, it's usually represented on our supply curve. If we're experiencing positive externality, then you would see two demand curve instead. So that's something you can note as well. If it's a negative externality, you'll see two supply curves. If it's a positive externality, you'll see two demand curves. So your first supply curve, which is this one, that would be your private costs. So that would be what the person who is smoking is bearing, right? Or no, that would be your social marginal costs. So
That
we
would
have,
be feeling it, like, and you probably have the chance of developing different diseases.
yes. So that would be the cost to society. Some persons might use the example of like factories inputting their waste in like rivers and so on. You know that persons swim in river, some people wash.
Look, and
That's
they
where
have fishing,
yes, that's
so
where
the
some
fish will
people get
die.
water. Correct. So this represents the cost that society faces, and it's called our marginal social costs. So let me just label this for like reference purposes. So private costs are marginal private costs, and this is marginal social costs. And again, if we're talking about negative externalities, we'll see two supply curves. If we're talking about positive externalities, we'll see two demand curves. So 30 is definitely B, marginal social costs. And 31, the term money supply refers to the total stock of money in an economy at a given moment, at any moment, amount of money traded in foreign exchange market, asset based on the institutions in the financial sector, amount of gold, silver, and other precious metals in reserve.
Would it be
Miss
B?
A.
A,
A. Yeah.
yeah. A is our answer. Stock of money in an economy at any moment. 32, which of the following scenarios represent the financial sector, a formal sector?
Miss D as in dog.
D as in dog, that's correct. The recycling plant deposits money earned on a daily basis on its accounts to a local bank. So as we said in the previous problem set, our past paper, Formal has to do with some sort of agreement being made. And it's usually something written, something that's concrete, and something probably that can be brought to court with evidence. So babysitting your neighbor's child to earn pocket money, there's no formality in that. Sandra formally organizing a meeting with her neighbors, not because the meeting is formally organized, that means it's a formal, it falls in the formal sector. What is conducted at the meeting may not be recorded or nothing like that, so we can't say that's formal. The village vagrant collects bottles. Basically, the old man on the roadside a collect glass bottle for $20. No, that's not formal. So the only answer there is D. The recycling plant deposits the money earned on a daily basis on its account to a local bank. 33, this is a repeat.
A.
Correct. And we know why it's A, right?
Yes, miss.
All right, good. Items 34 to 35 refers to the following financial institutions. Match each institution with the correct numbered statement. Each institution may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So which institution provides a fair and balanced distribution of funds to a country?
As in dog.
D as in dog, yes. CDC, CDB. 35, this institution is mandated to monitor, record, analyze, and provide information about social and
C.
economic.
R is A.
Say that again?
This is it, CRA.
A. IMF mostly deals with economic stability and monitoring financial institutions.
Me says A.
Yes, A is our answer, World Bank. .36, the diagram best describes function of central bank, flow of deposits into financial sector, role of financial sector, the role that financial sector performs for consumers, or the flow of funds into household sectors.
Miss B.
Flow of deposits into, that is correct. So why wouldn't we choose something like CRD?
No, miss, because in the cycle, miss, it said from the financial sector to the loan, level funds for investment or spending, which goes to the firms or also individuals. And then with that, they can save or deposit money back into the financial sector, like the banks and those places. So in the bank loan them money, they can save back money.
Yeah. So it's basically showing how persons and firms interact with the financial sector. .37, the government of country K has been accumulating a fiscal deficit without any surpluses for the past 3 years. This situation may be referred to as country K's what?
Miss B. National.
National debt, correct. 38, when injection of capital is greater than withdrawal, national income will
increase.
Nice. This is a repeat, don't?
Yes, yes.
39, a positive effect of the brain drain phenomenon for the country of
The remittance from abroad.
Yes. So that is one of the major benefits of brain drain. We earn remittance from abroad.
Miss, so what is remittance?
The
It's
money like where you
basically the money
back
that you
send
send.
through Western
Yeah.
Union or them place thing.
Okay,
Mhm.
miss.
Because government actually earns from that because them take some of your money. Persons have to pay to send money to Jamaica. And if they don't pay when they're sending the money, you have to pay when you receive it. So there's always some way the government can make money from us. 40, this type of unemployment, which is usually experienced by seasonal. Why seasonal?
It's because, like, for example, now Miss, the summertime is coming and we should be expecting a lot of tourists, Miss. So the tourism sector will increase, Miss. But like all in December, Miss, are like those time we wouldn't have a, let us say no, like, oh, we're gonna have Wally now, Miss. There would be a little decrease. So there
True.
wouldn't be a needed for there wouldn't be a need for many workers in the hotel industry, Miss, at that time.
That's true. So you're totally correct. That was Sharona, right?
Yes, Miss.
Nice. And also, guys, just to interject, the hotel industry is on a hiring spree right now. So if you know anybody who wants a job, encourage them if they want to go into the hotel industry to try now.
Miss, but the thing is that, Miss, they're not giving out summer jobs.
Yeah, they're kind of stingy with those things. But if you know persons who are, adults, probably have qualifications but in terms of internship, guys, always like reach out to the banks, the insurance places. They always want persons send out your resume. Don't waste your time.
Miss, excuse Miss, like you are mentioning this right now. Miss, you know any currently right now you could send in the group.
I don't know of none off the top of my head, but if I find them, I'll definitely send them.
Okay, Miss.
Yeah, no problem. But don't you have like the tourism? Some
Any
program,
Miss?
yeah, some.
National Enhancement Fund or in something like that, Miss.
I
Miss,
think
they sent out it, Miss, but all I know, Miss, I haven't got any response back.
Oh, that with government things, them always take long for answer. But you guys can also try NYS and stuff like that. Don't limit yourself. Don't waste your summers. Try to get as much experience as possible, especially in these times. 41 refers to the following incomplete equation. Which of the following methods can best replace the two x's in the equation?
Miss, that would be total income and total output.
Total output,
RZ.
yeah, C.
Oh, C.
Total output, total income. So GDP is just another term for total output. Total expenditure has to equal to total income based on our national income calculations, right?
Yes, Miss.
All right, right. The term recession refers to a period of
Miss.
Dog.
yes,
Yes,
temporary
Miss.
economic decline. Monetary policies involve the use of taxation, subsidies, interest rate, government expenditures.
Miss, taxation.
Monetary policy?
Miss, why not interest rates?
Oh.
Yeah, it would be interest rates.
Oh. 41 was C and 42 is D.
And 43, we're saying it's C. And it's C because taxation is linked towards fiscal policy. Subsidies also linked to fiscal policy. Government expenditure also linked to fiscal policy. So the key difference to note, central bank deals with monetary policy and fiscal policy is dealt with by our government. So once you see anything about tax, subsidies, government, we know that's all fiscal policy. But if we see interest rates, inflation, things like that, we know that that's something that money supply, we know that's something that has to do with our monetary policy, hence our central bank. Which of the following, why do I follow me or I read my mind? Which of the following statement best describes a fiscal deficit?
Miss, when the revenue, no, yes, miss, when the revenue is
Is
great.
it D? Miss, government spending exceeds government revenue.
So spending is greater than revenue, or we can say that revenue is less than spending. Any way you want to phrase it. So which of the following is a disadvantage of international trade?
Let me see.
Yes. So locals are faced with stiff competition because the market is no more open. So it's leaning more towards a perfect competitive market where you have many buyers, many sellers. So open competition on a worldwide scale facilitates, this look like a repeat.
Yes, miss, D.
Development of comparative advantage, nice. 47, country A is experiencing a balance of payment deficit. Which of the following measures would the government most likely use to reduce the deficit in the short run or in the
Miss
short term?
D. Mrs.
Miss D is a repeat question.
Oh yeah, imposition restriction. The amount of net export in an economy is given by negative $10 million. This indicates that the value of export is
less than
Less than
import.
import.
why is it less than?
It's because
It's
it is
because
negative.
they say negative 10 million. That means the import would be greater than the export.
Yes, so once you get a negative value, import is greater. So C is our answer. Export is less than imports. 49 refers to the following table, which shows the current accounts of countries M, BOP of the year 2017. What is countries M? Merchandise trade. Merchandise trade. What is another term for merchandise trade?
The physical or tangible ones, miss, the tangible goods that are traded.
Yeah.
Miss, so it would be taken away. Yes. Miss, it would be taken away the
Wait, Mrs. says it's negative 38, seeing that the imports are greater than exports.
Yes. So we're subtracting our imports from our exports, and we're using visible imports and export because they ask us about merchandise trade. And we know that merchandise has to do with tangible things that we can see.
Miss, so the invisible one would be like the services, right?
Invisible refer to your services.
Okay, miss.
So our answer is 32 minus 70, and that gives us negative 38. Any questions about that one?
No, miss.
Nice. 50. The currency of a country may appreciate in value if. What does appreciate mean?
Means when the country's money miss it, the money get nuffer. There's an increase in the money.
Yes, so there's an increase
So
in
as in
money.
Here, there's the demand for exports rises.
I mean, the currency will value more.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Miss,
correct.
Miss, can I give an example of like what my teacher told me, Miss?
Go ahead.
She told me that like just think of it like when the tourists are coming to Jamaica, and in order to come, they have to buy more of our dollars in order to so they can spend. So or value would appreciate while there would depreciate.
Appreciate. That's correct. That is the simplest example that they usually use, the tourism industry. Once there's a great demand for your currency, the currency will tend to appreciate. 51 refers to the following information on the production of corn and beans in two countries, Smallville and Bigville. Which of the following statement is true? Which of the following statement is true? Any suggestions as to what could be the answer?
Miss, I'm thinking D as in dog.
You're thinking or you know that that's the answer?
Miss, that should be the answer.
It seems like the answer to me.
Yes, and that is the answer. Guys, be more confident, man. Let's go through and
Because
see.
if you are, Miss, if you are to divide the 40 Miss by the 20 Miss for Smallville, Miss, it would be greater than when you're supposed to divide the Bigville, which is the 20 by the 40. Right?
That can't be one way of looking at it. That in that case, you're trying to find the opportunity cost. Is that correct? Are you trying to find which country has the advantage in producing that food?
Miss, my teacher gave me a formula to use. We should when we find like the one that has the less opportunity cost, that would be the one that has comparative. I think
Advantage. That's correct.
yeah.
So, but you can look at it from a simple, not saying you shouldn't use your formula. Use your formula, don't get me wrong. But looking at the figures, we realize that Smallville is able to produce 40, while Bigville can produce 20, right? That means Smallville is able to produce more corn than Bigville, right?
Yes, Miss.
Looking over at beans, we see that Bigville is able to produce more beans than Smallville. So from that, we can say that, all right, Smallville has the advantage in producing corns, while Bigville has the advantage in producing beans. So looking at the answers now, the first one says Bigville has the absolute advantage in producing corn. No, that can't be, because Smallville is producing way more corn. B, Bigville has a comparative advantage in producing corn. Again, that is incorrect. C, Smallville has the absolute advantage in producing beans. No, we just established that Bigville has that advantage. So D says Smallville has the comparative advantage in producing corns, and that is correct. So these are answer. Country X has obtained an inflow of 300 million in FDI. In which sector of or BOP can we find this record? So somebody can tell me the parts of our BOP, please.
Is you have the grants or the scholarships and funds.
No man, we're looking at the huge sections first.
Oh,
So we're looking at the big chunks like current. What are the others?
you see it be export and
So we have current account, capital account, financial account, and balancing items. Those are the few chunks that I'm referring to. Everybody know those, or you don't reach that far in studying?
No, miss, I'm not aware of those.
All right, so your
yes, I know
BOP
them,
are
but I don't remember.
so your BOP is divided into different sections: current account, capital account, fiscal account, and what they refer to as balancing items. Your current account looks at your merchandise, your services, I think investment and transfers, right?
This would it
Capital
go to the
account.
financial account.
Mm-mm.
Miss, I can continue.
I don't know why Flo won't stop the progress. Everybody hearing me now?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Yeah.
miss.
I don't even know where I stopped, so I'm just going to repeat what I was saying. So we talked about current accounts, capital accounts, financial, and balancing items. So visible trade, invisible trade, balance of trade, all those fall under our current account because current account deals with merchandise or visible goods, services or invisible goods, investment, and I think transfers, right? So then we can know that it can't be B, can't be C, and it definitely can't be D. So the only answer there is A, or capital account. And that is where it is located. capital account accounts for fixed capital, direct capital, which is sometimes referred to as FDI, but you have other direct capitals. You also have portfolio capital, as well as short-term and long-term capital. Everybody still here?
Yes, miss.
All right, nice. So 52 is A. It's recorded in our capital account. So which of the following best describes or best defines the term protectionism?
Is A.
Restriction of imports into the country. Correct. 54, which of the following organizations aim to promote free trade of capital and
Miss
labor?
CSME.
Yeah, CSM. And 55, which of the following organization has adopted a single currency to facilitate trade and movement of people among its member countries?
Miss, will it be the EU?
Yes, miss.
EU has a single currency. Could be EU.
European Union.
It is the EU. CSM is also aiming to achieve that level of integration, but they aren't there as yet.
Okay, miss.
They're far from it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So that was 53 and 54.
53, we said was A. 54 is C. And 55 is A. '56, which of the following factors has led to the rapid expansion of e-commerce?
Miss A.
Yes, the emergence of the internet.
Miss, that includes online shopping and those things, and
Yeah.
online banking.
All of that.
Mister, isn't that like a part of globalization?
It is, because the internet is kind of the main medium for globalization, because it's one of the main and most important ways in which people come together and connect. So it's one of the major tools for integration or globalization. Last 4 questions. Which of the following is not a characteristic of Caribbean countries?
Miss D.
Yes,
A repeat question.
D. That means when you guys see the paper, then I remember all of them answer here, right?
Yes, miss.
Which of the following is not a function of IMF? Not a
Miss
function.
A. It's because the settle trade disputes, miss. They promote financial stability.
Do
And
they
they
settle trade disputes?
So I don't think they settle trade disputes.
Mhm.
Because I feel like that would probably be. Oh, I was thinking, Miss, is that like a function of the Caribbean Development Bank, or it's not one of them?
No, it's not Caribbean Development Bank. It's actually the World
The
Trade
World Bank.
Organization.
Okay, Miss.
Oh.
Yeah.
Miss WTA.
WTO.
Oh.
Yeah. So World Trade Organization would be in charge of settling disputes between countries, not the IMF.
Okay, miss.
So our answer for 58 is D. Which of the following is not a benefit of economic integration? Not a benefit.
Miss, higher cost of living.
Why higher cost of living?
Oh, no, miss.
I'm just pulling your leg, yeah, you're correct, but why did you choose that?
Miss, because if like they should start, if they come together and probably they start earning more, they wouldn't look to be buying more things. They would be looking to saving or something like that.
Yes, they would be saving. But if, all right, look at it this way, if the economy is integrated and persons are able to earn more, standard of living would increase, right?
Yes, miss.
If our standard of living increase and we're able to afford things, then that's kind of contradicting saying cost of living is higher, right?
Yes, miss.
Prices might increase, yes, but the benefits that we're earning are also increasing. So they're kind of, negating all of that negative costs.
Oh,
That's why higher cost of living is not a benefit. And it's the only negative one there, to be honest. Increased productivity is a good thing. Improved competitiveness of product is a good thing for us consumers. Mutual benefits among member countries is also a benefit. So it's the only negative answer you have.
Miss, me just see what you talk about, miss.
Yes. And the last question for now, I think, yeah. One important objective of CARICOM.
B as in boy.
Yes,
Yes,
encourage economic development among its members.
it's a repeat question as well to miss.
Yes. And that's it, guys. Any questions before I give my closing words?
What
No,
was
miss.
59?
59
59?
was A.
Yeah, it was A. All right, guys, as we always say, the group is open. If you have any questions, myself or Joshua will definitely answer. Just send your questions in the WhatsApp group and we'll try to respond as soon as possible. Thank you guys for coming out today to our marathon. Even though it was canceled yesterday, you guys still made it here today. So I want to thank you for that and continue to support the New Jamaica Foundation as we try to make a positive difference in our society. You're not in the WhatsApp group, Damien?
No, miss, she's not.
Let me see.
Miss, you can send me the link, miss, and I'll send it to her. Or send it in the group and I'll send it to her.
All right, I'll send the link in the group and
Yes, miss.
So guys, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too, miss, and thank you so much.
Thank you for your help.
Take
No
care, everybody.
problem. You're welcome.
You too.
Be safe, guys. Let me see.